And do you think that this is then, in this respect, right for us to look for shale gas, for example, or should we still, be looking for something innovative rather than resource?
When I was recently spending some time in Asia, in Singapore and Hong Kong, many investors, institutional investors were asking me, we are intrigued what's going on in Russia. We're intrigued in going in Central Europe, but in Russia we're really worried about corporate governance and transparency. We would love to have Russian stocks listed in Poland because it gave us credibility. So this is maybe, Mr. Sobolewski, maybe this is something for you, opportunity to explore that, because there's a big demand for that.
Let me just repeat. Asian investor saying that he would like to have Russian company listed in Warsaw because of higher transparency.
Not in Hong Kong.
The other thing is, when you look at the structure of each market, we were talking about Poland, Russia, and Turkey. In MSCI, there's 39 companies in the index. 10 is in energy, 8 is material, and 7 is in utilities. So clear, it's a dominated area by this type of companies. In Poland, from 21 companies included MSCI index, 7 is a financials. So it's that's a big chunk of that. The similar as in Turkey. I think what Poland is missing is consumer staples and consumer discretionary companies that really you associate with the growth of emerging markets, because people get richer and then middle class is growing and they want to spend money. And unfortunately in Poland it's hard to find these companies. There are some small companies which not yet in the screen on of large companies like Capital. They are in a sort of a range of 100 million, $200 million market cap. But they are good for the small cap funds, and I think as they will be successful, they should do quite well.
So does it mean that the stock exchange should really look and make a pitch to consumer companies in Poland rather than CEE and to talk about another IPO of state-owned utility company?
I think the supply of shares from all the sectors is good. There's nothing wrong about it, and I don't think stock exchange should be picky and choosy to this year we only allow companies from sector A, and next year we'll think about sector B. This would be crazy. I think what's the role of the stock exchange is to attract as many companies as possible. I think there are actually many examples of companies that came from the private sector here that with the initial IPO and then they needed more capital, they follow up with capital increases. So these are perfect examples how those companies can grow and why it's worth to come to the stock exchange, because from one perspective it's an investment vehicle for investors, but two, also for the companies to raise financing rather than just going to the banks. So this is good. Now, talking about the industry breakdown in Poland and Turkey, we don't have oil producers or too many of commodity players, so it has to be very different, and it is. But it also means that a larger part of the market has to operate in a competitive market. And that means that those companies are better prepared for any different phases of the cycle, but also for expansion to other countries. And that has been shown by Turkish companies and Polish companies that are very competitive in their sectors.
Okay, so one final question to each of you, very simple question. So, for the next 12 months, or maybe for 2 years, what do you think the Polish market should care about? The head of stock exchange should look for, the brokers should develop for this market to have another successful year? Nadia, starting with you.
Well, firstly,
what we should not do, or to prevent what, perhaps?
Firstly, I think it's starting from a very good base, so I think it's going to be hard for other markets in the region to try to compete with what this market has done in terms of attracting other companies from other places and encouraging the inward listing of investors into this market. So, you know, we've seen Chairs, other companies come and list in this market, which has been a positive too. So I don't think, you know, we're suddenly going to see a big competitor emerge. I mentioned the corporate bond market. I think a deepening of that would be great. Ongoing reduction of state ownership and bringing of companies to market, but also reduction of state ownership of the companies that are already listed. And then it will be great to see some smaller companies continue to come to market and a deepening of the sectors available to us as investors in this market.
Grzegorz?
Yeah, I think what we need as investors is supply of shares. So IPOs from state-controlled companies and the private companies, and also liquidity. So, and as I mentioned before, this day traders are just one idea that maybe to explore and try to encourage higher trading volumes, either from retail investors or some international investors.
Definitely. Artur?
I think again, you provide more investment, more companies for investors, so more privatizations, more selling government stakes in privatized already companies. But I think in general, Poland will attract more and more attention in the next 12 months through the world investors, because it is becoming a star. There's more publicity. I think also right now market capitalization to GDP is 27%. This is still low compared to like Malaysia. It's over 100%. It's very similar to Turkey, but I think there's a potential so further growth. And what I am very encouraged that there's 727 companies listed in Poland. That compares to like over 630 in Germany. And so we are developing a culture that small and medium enterprises are looking for capital, raising capital through market. And I think that develops a culture of investors in the stock market, which is really encouraging for the future.
And it's very encouraging that it's not only about investors, about the whole infrastructure, but also the Polish government is on their agenda to support it through this stock exchange society, which of course we also are very much proud of. Thank you all very much, and once again, thank you for coming here to Warsaw.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen.